Hi everyone, welcome to Dusty Shelf Collectibles. Well, this is a bit of an interesting one I think, because you may have seen Hornby re-release their Triang Remembered range. There's been a few of them out now, and I've ummed and ahed over whether to get one of these, and I decided against it. I thought, no, I don't want to get one of those because it's just, you know, it's just a re-release of an old train set. And whilst going through some of my sets that I have collected over the years, I found this one, which is RS30, which is the breakdown set with the crane in and everything else. And I just happened to be down at the visitor centre the other week, and they had their X-Display sale on. I did a video around the centre there. It was only brief in the sales bit because I ran out of time, and by the time I'd got down there, gone around the museum, they were about to close, so I was a bit of a rush around just to grab a bit of footage and a couple of things. But I picked up the re-release set from Hornby. Now, I think there's sort of an opinion here that why have they done this? This is a bit of a, it's either marketing genius because you're just recycling old machines, but then that's, you know, that's the cynical side of saying that. But actually, having had a look inside here, I think this is presented lovely. What a nice set! It really is a nice set. And what I plan to do with this video is show you what's inside here and explain why I think this is probably one of the better releases in terms of sets from Hornby in a while. Probably, you know, not because of the logo or anything, but because it is quite a basic setup. But just the way it's presented and the nostalgia feel of it, I think, is really nice. And in doing that, showing you how it compares to the original RS30. Back from, I need to look it up when it was released, but we'll obviously go into a little bit of detail on this one as well. And then hopefully towards the end of the video, get both of them running side by side, and let's just get some footage of the old kit with the new kit. Let's have a look. Now, we're thinking about how to present this video, and I think probably to give some context, I need to start with the older kit. So this was released in 1963. It ran for 3 years. Now, I said in the introduction it was called the breakdown set. That's incorrect. This was actually the crash set. And in the catalogue showed, you know, recovery of a train, and it was all very, you know, showing how to play with the toys in there. Now, there's a few things interesting on the box here. So the first thing is the decal that you see here, or the picture that you see here. This is actually stuck onto the box. So this is not printed on as we see it today. This was a separate edition, and obviously with the RS30 just stuck on the side there. Right, if you just have a look at the end here, I'm not sure whether I can get this into shot, but you can see there's French there, Italian, German, I guess. So this would have been shipped around Europe. So anyway, let's lift the lid off and have a look what's inside. So first of all, let's have a look at the engine. So this is a Class 3F loco. You can see the number on there, 47606. An 060 tank engine, nothing particularly special. Note the way the motor is showing through on the cab there. That's important when we come to look at the newer model. This one's actually in pretty good condition, not bad at all. Yeah, quite a basic engine, but we'll leave that to there. Then second in the set is the operating crane, and as I say, this set was actually delayed. It was supposed to come out before 1963, but was delayed waiting for this to join the set. This is number 127, BR maintenance crane. It is operational. You can see here, you've probably all seen these before, but you've got the two here, the two little rotary pins that pull on the chains, and you can change the sort of the way in which the crane lifts, and it's fully operational. And with that comes a small support truck. I'll be careful how I lift this out because I don't want to damage it. And this would sit here, and then you could lower the boom down to rest in the truck as it went round the track. And then finally we've got the engineering department wagon, which is this one here, and you see written on the side there, engineering. So just a standard Triang coach. And those were the basically the three things that came in the set. Now, I've got this additional one that's put in here. I don't know why it's in there. I don't believe this came with the set. I think it was just those three bits. And then in this area here, you would have initially just some track. There was no controller in the set, and then I think the later models in maybe 64, 65, they also had a re-railer or a decoupler that came with the set as well. So that's basically what you would have got back in 1963, laid out in these individual boxes, as you see. Quite nicely presented, but a very, very basic set nevertheless. Okay, and on to the modern day set. So Triang Remembered by Hornby. So before we get into the set itself, let me just show you the catalogue. So this is the catalogue from 2022, and over here you can see the imagery from 1963. This was what was in the catalogue back then. I don't actually have a 1963 catalogue, otherwise I'd show you. But you can see referred to as Crash with this big, you know, lettering around there. And what it says here is, the production of the set had been delayed until the introduction of the R127 mobile crane. But in 1963, the Crash train set appeared and was an instant success. The catalogue image and descriptive copy simply told the story and fired the imagination as well as the demand for the Crash set. Remained in the Triang range for a period of 3 years, which is what I said, and over that time it sold 19,000 sets. So yeah, I don't know how many are still out there, but they're not that rare. I mean, it's but 19,000. I mean, that's a huge amount of railway sets compared with the modern ranges. So let's get back to what's in here. Now, as I said in the introduction, you know, there is this cynicism that Hornby have just taken the old Triang tools and re-released them, and you know, put them in this nostalgic box and charging quite a lot for them. I mean, this is quite an expensive set for what you get inside. But that said, I think there's a little bit more to it that meets the eye. So just looking at the box to start with, we've got a printed on label this time around, but the quality of the box is pretty good, to be fair. I mean, it's a really nice, let me see if I can get it open without damaging it. It's a good quality box. Here we go. Just to show you, look, you know, it's quite a thick thick cardboard there, and it's quite a nicely presented. And then inside you can see the sort of nostalgia comes through instantly, that you've got the layout very, very similar and indicative to the older set. And you can see we've got the track in here. Obviously my older set didn't have the track in, and I guess the only criticism of Hornby is they've used the excuse that the older set didn't have a controller in there. So to be nostalgic and to be authentic, they've not put a controller in this set. I think that's a little bit wrong. I think, you know, it would have been nice to have a controller in here, but maybe that would have affected the price point. Anyway, I'm just going to slide this off and show you what's in here. Now, if we start with the engine, again, we've got a 3F loco here, an 060 tank engine. But you can see already you've got separately fitted handrails on here. Obviously the pipe work on the side here. A little bit of release agent on the side there, so I have to clean that off. Don't know what these little features either side are, but you see we've got the vacuum hoses fitted. So it's a little bit step up, if you like, from just a standard, or from the original tank engine that was in the original set. You'll see inside the cab we've got the handrails either side, and you'll see that you can't see the motor anymore. Instead we've got detail on the back of the boiler and the spectacle lights at the back there, fitted glass. So it is actually quite a quality loco, really. It's not too bad at all. Let's move on to the crane. I'm going to do a comparison in detail in a moment, but just sort of unboxing this. I think the crane itself is very, very similar moulding. Again, you can see the rotary, I don't know what you'd call them, the sort of knobs on the side here that you can turn to lift the crane and move the hook up and down. So that's pretty similar. Then we've got the wagon. This is a little bit different to the other wagon, but again, you can see there's some more detail underneath the various brake lines and couplings underneath on the wagon there. It's quite nicely finished, and some nice printing on the side as well. And then finally the engineering coach, pretty similar to the original Triang model. As I say, on face value, this is quite an expensive set. I think the retail on this was about 150, 160, and you know, for quite a a minor loco there and a few other little bits and pieces. It is an expensive set for what you get in there. But I'm looking beyond that. I mean, I'm going to ignore these bits and pieces. If you look at the way that it's presented, the nostalgia that it gives, it's that kind of set. It's to give a presence in a collection. It's not being sold as a, I don't believe it's being sold as a train set that, you know, you'd give to somebody. Maybe possibly it could have been bought for somebody who, you know, used to have railways and, you know, reminisced about them, but was getting back into it. And this is something that maybe this was a set that somebody had back in the 70s, and it's a modern day variant. So yeah, I actually really do appreciate this. I think it's a lovely set. I think it's so well presented. I think Hornby have done really well with this. I know there'll be people in the comments that disagree with that, but I'm actually really pleased with this. So anyway, the next bit that I wanted to do was just to put the engines and things side by side and give some idea of the differences that there are between the various bits in the set. So in terms of the engine, going back to front, so you can see slight differences in the buffer beam. You can see that the coal is very different. No spectacles in the older version. At the top here, we've got obviously, as I say, the vacuum pipe on here. That's not fitted onto the older model. In terms of the top of the engine, very, very similar. You see that they are very, very similar. Obviously on the older one, we've got the molded in handrails. On these, they're separately fitted. And as I mentioned, the pipes there. And you can see on the front of the loco, we've got the brakes fitted onto the chassis just here, and you can see the vacuum pipe on the front of the loco there as well. So there is a lot of difference in between the two models, and I think the most noticeable thing is the can you see the motor in the cab of the older version, whereas this much obviously with a modern motor in there and a modern chassis, it's you know, it's much cleaner in terms of its presentation. The older model much heavier, as you'd expect. This is I think this is a plastic chassis on here, whereas this is a die-cast, a metal chassis. Yeah, so that's the two engines in comparison. Now let's have a quick look at the crane, and you can see it is exactly the same moulding. It's the same chassis, same moulding. The only thing I guess with the modern crane is we have got some printing on the side that isn't present on the older variant. But otherwise, I cannot spot any difference between those. They're exactly the same unit. And the supporting truck for the crane, I mean, these are different, totally different mouldings, totally different parts. Glad to see metal fitted wheels in the set, the more modern set. But you can see this was much more of a chunky affair back in the 60s, whereas we've got this nice slimline, modern truck there. But doesn't have the mounts for the boom of the crane, but that's not the end of the world. Just put those to one side. And finally, the two engineering coaches. I mean, the older one's in black, the modern one's in brown. But to be fair, I cannot spot the difference between them. The only difference, I guess, is the modern one has metal wheels on there, whereas the original had plastic. But it does look like the same moulding, and yeah, the same features on both of them. So I think in summary, the loco itself obviously is it's a step up in terms of detail, it's a step down in terms of weight, and in terms of what it feels like the chassis is quite a you know, lightweight. I'm not sure if it is plastic. I'm not totally sure. I'm not convinced. Maybe it is a metal one. I'm not sure. I'm not going to take it apart to find out. So yeah, but the loco itself, there's definitely, you know, you take your pick. I mean, I personally like both of them. You know what I'm like, I prefer my older locos. I think, you know, the patina on them, the weathering is pretty good, but you know, this modern one does look the part. I mean, it is presented and finished quite nicely. Crane being exactly the same, trucks being exactly the same. I mean, you can question, is there value in this set? I mean, as I say, quite an expensive set. I'm going to stand by what I said, even having looked at these and seen them very, very similar. I actually like the presentation in this. I think it's got that nostalgic feel. I have no regrets in purchasing it. I think it's fantastic. And I think Hornby actually have done themselves quite proud with this one. One final thing I was just going to point out, which is maybe of interest, is just coming back to the box lids and the interiors. So in terms of the pictures on the boxes, just out of interest, they are very, very slightly different. I'm trying to get both in camera. Let's do them one at a time. So here we've got a family playing with the railway, and obviously there's a lad, and I guess his sister and dad there. And on this one, looks like 2 lads and a dad, but with the poster in the background there of the Pullman car. And as I say, this one is stuck onto the box, this one is printed on. I do wonder whether this is actually a newly printed photograph to you know, depict the modern age, where this is not just being marketed at boys, but also to the whole family. And then finally, just coming back to the presentation of the box. I mean, if I show you the old one again, with the Triang Railways RS30 train set, again, this was stuck onto the box. And then I'll show you this one. I mean, I really do think this is a nice presentation. It's yeah, quite a nice set indeed. Anyway, let me stop talking and let's get the trains running on the track. Right, let's start with the modern loco. I'm just going to set this running around the track. Let's go backwards. Now, it's actually got quite a strange motion. It's almost a little bit jerky. Might be where it probably just, you know, been sitting in the box too long, just needs freeing up a little bit. But you can hear it's got quite an interesting sound. And you can see it's a little bit jerky straight out the box. So I'm not overly worried, probably just needs a good oil. But it's, as I say, quite whispery, shall we say, in terms of its sound. Right, let me just park that one there, and then let's go back to one from the 1960s, and it's got that typical sound of a Triang motor. I'm getting stuck on the points because of the wheels. So I'm going to let this one run at a little bit of speed so it doesn't get caught on the points too badly. Yeah, still a little bit hesitant on the points. So how do I conclude this? It's difficult. It's difficult. I think the modern set, it's a beautiful set, beautifully presented, probably a little bit expensive for what it is. But with that nostalgia feel, I think Hornby have done a great job in re-releasing an old set. Running the two next to each other, I still, personally, I prefer the older loco, the 1960s one. I just think it has more of a presence on the track. It feels heavy when it's running, if you know what I mean. It doesn't feel so lightweight as the modern one. And I mean, both of them run just as well as each other. They've both come off as many times as each other. There's nothing really to say in between the two. But I feel particularly lucky to have both sets. And I think yeah, they did look quite good running together. And one final thing I forgot to mention is whereas the 1963 4 or 5 kit sold 19,000 sets, this latest kit from Hornby, which was released in 2022, was a limited edition of 1,000 sets. So anyway, if you haven't subscribed, please do so. If you please could like the video, I'd be very, very grateful. And please do leave a comment. Let me know what you think. What do you think of these new Triang Remembered sets from Hornby? And how do you think they compare to the old ones? I mean, I've given my opinion on the video, so yeah, be very interested to hear what you think. Anyway, we'll leave that one there. Thank you ever so much for watching, and I'll catch you on the next one.